Welcome to Krista's Spiritual Talks. Today we have Erin Knight. How would you describe yourself as you put down here, intuitive guide and mindfulness life coach? If you want to, for people that don't know anything about you, can you
Yeah.
give them an idea?
So I am a certified professional life coach. I am trained in MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction, as well as cognitive behavioral therapy. However, I'm also highly intuitive. I am co-founder of Third Eye Mystics, which is we do tarot card readings and mediumship. So with my mindful life coaching, I kind of combine the need for life coaching and the need to, connect to our inner wisdom. So I work predominantly with women and I really help them find balance in their life through connecting to their higher selves, through listening to their intuitive, awareness, and through, by practicing different forms of mindfulness on the go, really.
Definitely
Yeah.
needing that today in today's
Mhm.
age. So, is there a certain type of person that comes to you, a certain phase in their life, or how would you narrow that down? Or is it just across the board?
So right now, my client base, it ranges from like young women to the oldest client I've had has been early 80s. And she was probably one of my favorite people to work with because she, recognized at that stage in her life, like, hey, I've not always lived a life of true alignment. I've not always done what I wanted to do or listened to myself or, lived that authentic life. So really, I work with a wide demographic, but it's typically women who are facing burnout or who just really want to live that soul-led life, as we were talking about previously.
Mhm.
And I think we live in a time nowadays where there's so much distraction. Um, we've got, Wi-Fi. First of all, we've got endless streaming. We have cell phones, we have social media, we have so many distractions. And I think what we've done, certainly over the last 10 years, but even over the course of the last 40 years or so, is we've really moved away from just being and listening to our inner guidance and making those own decisions, our own decisions based on how we feel.
Mhm.
We think back to even our ancestors, um, people mapped the entire Pacific Ocean, for example, based on instinct alone, based on trusting their intuition. And we've really moved away from that.
Mhm.
So I think if we are struggling with certain forms of burnout, certain forms of anxiety, not all of it, I think we deep down know what we need. It's just a matter of now listening to that and living a life of true authenticity. Sorry, excuse me. It's
Yeah,
Sunday. Need more coffee.
that's all right. Which is not always easy. So, how long generally are your sessions when you meet with somebody? Are
So, it's typically based on client by client. I do offer a few different programs. My shortest one being 6 weeks. So we meet weekly for 6 weeks, and that program is called Intuitive Discovery Coaching, and that's really, I guess, a personal growth program that helps you connect to your inner wisdom. Of course, by the end of the program, by the end of that last week, we put together a plan for you to implement what we've learned into your daily life, right? To help make that routine and that pattern. But I really follow in all of my coaching with intuition. I really follow a three framework kind of guide where is cultivating mindfulness, which is so important, because if our mind's not quiet, we're not going to tune into our intuition as much as we can if things are nice and calm. um, Listening or trusting our intuition is the second step, and then acting on that intuition is a third step. We've all been in situations, right, where it's like, okay, getting a little bit of red flags here, not feeling so certain about this. I'm going to ignore that. And then at the end of the day, we're like, should have trusted that. So it's really important to learn how to actually trust and act.
right. And I
Mhm.
suppose everybody's different when they come, where what kind of a plan you're going to put together.
Yeah.
But ultimately, is it basically getting somebody in alignment with their authentic self and moving towards what excites them, their passion. Is that kind of a
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, it goes back to living that soul-led life. Are
Mhm.
you living a life that you are content with, that you're happy in? And if not, well, what can you do about that? Right. So for myself, for example, my background is actually in accounting. I was an accounting technician for years and years and years. Um, and it was interesting how I fell into that role. It was something that was just kind of offered to me. And I thought, well, yeah, no, that sounds okay. The pay sounds good. I'll go that direction in school. So, I went to school, did all that stuff for that. Found myself in a corporate position that just wasn't me. Nothing against accounting, but for me, it wasn't me. And it caused a lot of anxiety in my life. It caused a lot of insomnia. I had a lot of other issues. We were trying to expand our family, have more children, and we weren't able to do that. And I believe it was because I wasn't happy. I was just not living my true life. So in the meantime, I had this great group of peers that were, doing psychic development, tarot card readers. Speaking of, I've been reading tarot cards since I was a teenager, so that's another part of myself.
yeah,
Um,
your decks?
but yeah, but so I leaned into that. And the more I leaned into that, did some Reiki classes, did some Reiki shares, surrounded myself with those people that taught me how to listen to my intuition. The more I realized this isn't for me. I'm a helper. I'm a healer. That's what I need to do. So when I had my second child, when I was on maternity leave, I decided life coaching was the thing for me. Pursued that. Really worked hard on getting the certifications and all that with that, and was able to build my life coaching practice. And now, it just again, I'm living that soul led life, and it just feels right.
Well, hopefully you don't mind my asking, but how long ago was that you made that switch from accounting to?
So that was 10 years ago. My youngest just turned 10. So that was 10 years ago.
So a lot of times that's not always an easy choice.
Nope.
Financially, it can be hard.
Mhm.
And then what do other people think? Was that hard within your family and friends of switching over to?
Yeah. So I mean, that's a really good point, and that's something that I talk about with my clients because not everyone is in a position where they can just leave their job, where they can just say, "This is not for me. I'm going to do something else," because we have bills to pay. A lot of times, people maybe there's a single income, right? So it's really important that you again are making if there's smaller changes you can make to find that, soul-led life, do that first, right? To find that happiness. Just don't, maybe there's more of a hobby you can do or something that you can start up on the side to get to that point. So that's a good point there. For me, I was blessed in that my husband was completely supportive and is completely supportive to this day. I remember him going to work and like handing out my business cards to like all of his coworkers, and so very, very supportive in that sense. Keep in mind too that I had been doing professional tarot card mediumship and Reiki sessions on the side for years leading up to that. So I had a nice base of clientele that were there already that I was able to transition with my life coaching. In terms of what people thought, I mean, again, because I was doing psychic readings already, I don't think a whole lot of people were surprised, like, oh, that's Erin. I've always been into the metaphysical side of things. I've always have been, highly intuitive. I have always promoted people listening to their intuition, so people weren't that shocked. It was certainly scary though, because again, to have that steady income of, a position that was nice and a spending account and pension and all that sort of stuff, it was scary. But again, for me, it was the right move.
In the end, more of a
Yeah,
soul-led life chose rather than
absolutely.
they're totally different sides of the brain there using them.
Yep.
So your intuition, was this something you were always aware of from childhood or?
Yeah.
it's not something that developed later. Yeah.
No, it for me, like again, I was raised in a house that was very encouraging on all sorts of feelings and emotions, right? So even if there was something that my parents couldn't understand, it was always encouraged to, talk about it or let me know that experience. I feel like my parents always thought it was very interesting. Um, I come from a family who my great grandmother, my family's Australian, one half of it, my mom's from Australia. My great grandmother, she used to go in like the 30s and 40s. She used to go to psychic development classes and different mediumship demonstrations and platforms and all that sort of stuff. And she was actually at one point asked to leave because she was too accurate on some of the things. I think she was taking maybe some of the attention away from, the head mediums there or something. I don't know. It was a funny situation, funny story to hear back. But no, I come from a family that it was very encouraged. It was in the family already as well. I remember having specific dreams as a child and then having them have them come true. I remember seeing certain things at night, figures in the house and in the rooms. One night actually, I sat up in my bed and my bedroom door was closed and my sister walked through the door, like didn't open it, just walked through the closed door. She was transparent, but I could see her. And she kind of looked at me with a surprised face, and I looked at her with a surprised face. And that's all I remember. I must have fallen back asleep. And then the next morning at the breakfast table, my sister says, "Man, I had the weirdest dreams last night. I had a dream that I was walking through the walls and the floors, and I was floating everywhere." And I'm like, "Well, I saw you." So again, it was these things that were going on in my house. So yeah.
So how many siblings do you have?
So I've got two. I've got an older sister, younger brother. Um, and I think all of us are very intuitive. My sister, she is an ICU nurse, very logical minded, very science backed, all that sort of stuff. Also very empathic and working in the hospital, working in the ICU. She feels a lot of energies, a lot of emotions, a lot of spirits, even though she doesn't recognize that they're spirits. I know they are when she tells me what's going on. And so I feel like I've been able to, help her in terms of that empath side, practicing mindfulness and finding that balance at work as well.
Well, and I truly believe that everybody here has a purpose, right? And it's not all going to be
Mhm.
metaphysical. So, like when people come to you, it could be a nurse, it could be whatever, like
Oh
just
yeah,
helping them find what that is. And to me, that's that thing that really lights up that passion within you.
yeah,
Um, so it's not even really, I mean, work can be mundane at times, but it's that thing that you're really drawn to. I've been working in Native American communities since 2010, and one of the teachings from we use this curriculum called White Bison. Um, it talks about if the soul doesn't do what it came the purpose, it becomes restless when it passes, that kind of thing. So I think we do have a stirring, always that knowing to kind of push us that way, but a lot of times fear gets in the way. It's refreshing listening to your journey because I've never seen that. I think the next generation, it's a little easier than maybe 20 years older, going into this field. So it's refreshing that I think it's shifting and becoming more less stigmatized. So that's
yeah. And I think that's something that we are certainly seeing with this new generation. My oldest is 16, and um, the conversations we have are just amazing. That I'm understanding that he's allowed to be open with that, right? And his friends are allowed to be open with that. And they're very this next generation is very intuitive based. They
oh,
might not know what that is yet, but they're getting very good at putting those boundaries up and saying no, thank you, and really listening to that voice inside. So it is kind of refreshing. And I think what we've seen also, and hopefully this continues, is that science is starting to recognize intuition a little bit more as a valid thing, right?
right.
So there have been a lot more studies out there where they're starting to look at what part of the brain that connects to and what is driving that instinct.
And how powerful the heart is, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
In following that and kind of balancing the mind and the heart. big teachings there.
Mhm.
Anything come to mind that I haven't discussed that you'd like to share or?
If anyone listening right now wants to learn how to increase their intuition and they're not too sure where to start, the best thing you can do is ask your body. I know that sounds silly, but every morning when you wake up, do a quick little body scan. Close your eyes, start at your feet, move all the way up your body. And as you do that, just release any sort of tension that you're holding on to in any spot. And once you get to the top of your head, just simply ask yourself, like, what do I need to be aware of today? What isn't fitting right now? What doesn't feel right? And then act on that. So, have you been anxious because maybe you're putting off a tough phone call? Have you been, maybe not moving your body enough, so you need to get outside? Have you been putting off, a specific paper at work? What do you need to be aware of that day? And then trust that and act on it.
Mhm.
Right. I think that's a great place to start, that body scan. I also want to mention too, for anyone interested, I do have a journal. It's called My Intuitive Journal. And
Mhm.
you can find it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And what it is, it's just a daily prompt journal that helps you again tune into your intuition to find that balance and that purpose within your life.
I think that's really powerful is
Yeah.
journaling. You can see if you're doing the same patterns all the time over time and what the thoughts are there.
Yeah.
So do you mainly work on Zoom or do you have events that you put on or?
Yeah, so I typically do my one-on-one clients via Zoom. It's just easier that way. We can record all of our sessions. People can tune in from anywhere. That's my one-on-ones. Events, yes. We've got a few workshops coming up. So again, I'm co-founder of Third Eye Mystics with my partner, who is also my mother-in-law, Donna Becker. And so we do different tarot-based programs, mediumship events, that sort of thing. We will be hosting our annual Weekend with Spirit in Edmonton, Alberta, May 25th, sorry, 24th and 25th. It's a 2-day event. You can sign up for the entire weekend or just pick or choose Saturday or Sunday. Saturday, we are doing, it's a spiritual journey day. We do meditations to connect to your spirit guides, your higher self, your power animals, perhaps a loved one in spirit. And then Sunday is more intuitive development. So we call that kind of like a psychic play day. We do different exercises to hone that intuitive muscle. So that information, if anyone's interested, that is on our website at thirdeyemystics.com. And if anyone's looking to book a reading with myself or Donna, again, thirdeyemystics.com. For anyone wanting to work with me with intuitive coaching or mindfulness coaching, my website is erinknightcoaching.com.
Wonderful. Well, hopefully we can do this again. It's been wonderful. So thank you
Oh,
very
yeah.
much.
Thank you so much.